Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope everything is good and great and wonderful. It's pretty fantastic here. I just got back. I had dinner with my daughter, and that's always nice. Just, I don't get a whole lot of alone time with her anymore. She works on the weekends, so I get a ton of alone time with Monster, but with my oldest, we don't get to see each other a whole lot. So anyway, inspiration hit today for the next story that I want to work on. Before I go back and work on this book that I just wrote, I want to write maybe one or two smaller, like 30,000 word stories that that are set in the same world and in the same character, and I want to use those stories for me to kind of finalize how I write this character, how I write about the magic in this world, how I write about the world itself. I need to figure all of those things out, and I don't necessarily want to do that by forcing it in a notebook. I would rather do it by writing story, right? If nothing else, it's just practice for writing words and writing good sentences and word choice and all that sort of stuff. So I have a inspiration hit today, and I thought, okay, I've now have a little clearer picture of what the world's going to look like. And I got excited about a couple of the ideas that popped into my head about how that would work, which also means that, when I get, here's the thing. I had a friend ask me, or I had a friend tell me, go figure out how to fix the book that I just wrote, and then start working on the fix. And I think the fix is, and this is me being a realist. I think if I went back to that book right now to fix it, I think the only way I could do that is to just start over. Literally don't even use the first draft as a reference. Just redo the whole story. Because I think that by the end of the book, I had a much more concrete idea of how things worked than I did in the beginning of the book. And because of that, a whole lot of choices that were made in the beginning of the book don't work. And if I change the first chapter would stay the same. The first chapter I could keep. The rest of the book, from chapter 2 on, there's like that whole middle section would have to get thrown away anyway. It's completely useless to me. I mean, maybe I could pick and choose some scenes, but I think the better way would be to totally rewrite it. I still want to tell that story. It's a part in this character's adventure that I think is very important to this character. What he finds, what he discovers is very important to the continuation of this character's story. But the way that I went about it in the little town that he was in and the interactions he had, gone. That all would just get thrown away and replaced wholesale with a updated setting. So I don't think I could keep any of the book. But that being said, if I now focus my energy on writing a new story, using the same character, using the same very similar story elements, I think that I can use that as a way to figure out who this guy really is and figure out a better way to tell this story. That's what I want to do. So the thing I'm trying to figure out right now is what I have as a plot, I guess. I mean, there's a certain aspect of this character that I want, I want to write, I want to show to the reader how he discovered this thing. For all intents and purposes, we'll equate it to like the young Indiana Jones story of when he found the whip and when he decided he was going to carry a whip with him for the rest of his life. I want to tell my character's version of the whip story, right? How he came to this conclusion, how he figured out, this particular aspect of his world. That's the story that I want to tell. And the problem is, if I say that, that's not a story, that's a plot. And the thing that I'm really hung up on is when I do it this time, when I write this particular story, and this is a small story, like, 10 chapters or something, 100 pages, just a very quick story. I'm really hung up on, I want to do a little bit of pre-planning. A little bit. as much as I enjoyed the randomness of the complete pantser method of writing, I think that I need to have at least the major plot points so that I know what I'm building to, and then I know what the climax is, and then I know what the finale is. So I think I need to figure that out. The problem is I get hung up. I'm getting totally inside my head hung up on, well, what's the theme? Who gives a shit? I don't have a theme. Like, why is that always the thing that people talk about? What's the theme of your book? I don't know. I don't have a theme. I don't care. Somebody else can figure out what the theme is after I write it. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't have a theme. I'm not trying to tell the story of a middle-aged, depressed man going, or it's just a story about a dude with a gun going into a town and saving some people. Like, there is no theme. The theme is you don't need your magic powers to save the world. That's the theme, right? I don't know. And so I'm getting really hung up on the detail of the craft of writing as opposed to just doing what I want to do, which is putting some words on paper and getting inside my head a little bit too much. It's one of those situations where I know just enough to be a detriment to myself, because I think, well, what is the character's motivation for doing this? Well, what are the stakes here? What is the whatever? Like, who gives a damn? Like, those are all just like writer fluffery bullshit that they try to assign to a story to make themselves feel better about what they wrote, as opposed to just telling a good story. Problem is, I'm one of those people. I'm stuck inside my own head going, this character motivation doesn't make sense. This plot point doesn't make sense. There's no stakes here. Like, I have to figure all that stuff out before I can even start writing, and it's really hard to overcome that. So I want to try to find my method. I haven't found it. Pantsing was fine, but I also felt like a little bit too loose because I didn't even clearly define the way magic works in my world before unleashing it and just making it up as I went. And I think that was a real detriment to the way that book went. So I would like to at least put some pins in things before I start writing this time. So that's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down and try to put some pins in. This is how magic works. And I don't need to explain that to the reader. I spent a whole lot of words explaining the magic system in that book, and I don't want any of that. I want it to be a little bit looser and mysterious to the reader. I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty details of how it works, but I want behind the scenes for my personal, basically to handcuff me. I want there to be clearly defined rules. Maybe the reader isn't aware of the rules, but me as the author, I am aware of the rules, and I'm bound to those rules so that I don't have that MacGuffin moment or that, he found the magic amulet that does the thing that he needed to do because I couldn't figure out a way to write around it. I don't want to do that. So I think I'm going to sit down and try to create do a little bit of world building before I start the next story. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited to start, and we'll see if I can come up with something a little bit better than what I just wrote. So, good news is, though, I was really bummed out yesterday. I had no inspiration, but today I was like, I know the story I want to tell. Let's figure that part out. Now I just got to figure out how to do it and do something, slightly better than what I did last time. I do not expect to sit down at my computer and write a publishable story in the next month and say, oh, look what I did. No, this is going to be junk too, and I'm aware of that, but it's going to be better than what I just wrote. And then the next one's going to be better than that. I know that's how this is going to work. I just got to figure it out. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking and commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is dichotomy. It is a noun meaning division into two parts, especially into two seemingly contradictory parts. A dichotomy between good and evil is present in every human heart. Dichotomy. D-I-C-H-O-T-O-M-Y. I disagree. I don't think it's a dichotomy. I think it's a log scale.